The final part of today's lesson is order of operations, and this is used when you have multiple things to work together. While you were doing calculations previously with the whole numbers, the fractions, and the real numbers, you would realize that you only work with two numbers at a time. You only have a number, let's say for example 2, the operator goes in this position, and then we have the next number 3. So you can only work with two of them at a time. Because of this, when you have operators string together, what you would have to do is follow a rule of precedence. In other words, you're going to deal with the one that is most important, and then you move on to the ones that are least important. Now the rule has three forms. It's one rule of precedence that has basically three forms, and I'm going to go through each one of them and explain it. So now, when we look at BODMAS, the first B stands for brackets. So anything that is enclosed in a brackets, or I should really use, well, I'll use the word brackets. Anything that is enclosed in a brackets should be calculated first. Then you should look at the orders. Orders are simply what we did before when we were computing powers. Numbers raised to a particular value. Then what you're supposed to do after that is division slash multiplication. When I say division slash multiplication and addition slash subtraction, these little asterisks here just simply means when I'm moving from left to right, I can choose that one first. Let's say for instance I have 2 divided by 3 multiplied by 4. I have to do the division first because it comes first when I'm reading from left to right. If I have 2 multiplied by 3 divided by 4, I would have to do the multiplication first in this case, because reading from left to right, I come across the multiplication first. So that's what it means when I say you take the first one when reading from left to right. When you look at BIDMAS, BIDMAS is exactly the same as before. Brackets, again, indices is the same, x to a power. Divisions and multiplications, when you're reading from left to right, the first one that happens. PEMDAS is the exact same thing, parentheses, same brackets. Exponents, that's when you have the value raised to a particular power, x to the power of a. And multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Again, the first one that you come across when moving from left to right. So now that you understand that, let's look at a couple of examples. We start off first by going from left to right, and the first thing that we look for is brackets or parentheses. Right? So brackets or parentheses, and we see the bracket here. So we're looking at that and working it out first. So we will write back down 16 divide by 2 multiply by 5 add open bracket. The value inside of the bracket is 10. Take 8 from 10, that is 2. So I have that there. The next part of it, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to either look for orders, indices, or we are supposed to look for exponents. We have none of that inside of this. So the next thing we look for is divisions or multiplications, or we're looking for, again, divisions or multiplications, or we're looking for, again, multiplications or divisions, whichever one comes first when moving from left to right. So I see already that moving from left to right, that's this way, I came across this division first, so I will work with that. 16 divided by 2 is 8. I put back my multiplication, I put back my 5, and I put back my plus 2 without the brackets. Again, I run over the entire equation because I am not finished yet. I still have a multiplication here. So 8 by 5 is 40. Then I plus 2 at that point. And I go again from there. I have no divisions or multiplication, so at this point I have to stop. Next thing I have to look for is addition, subtraction. Addition, subtraction. Addition, subtraction. And when I add, what I can see right away here is that I have 42. Now I'm going to do the next example. Again, we're going to start off as we're supposed to. We go in with either brackets or parentheses. And that's the 5 plus the 5. We get 10. Put it back in the brackets, put the index, plus 2 minus 10 divided by 2 multiplied by 6. Next, we look at the orders, the exponents, and the indices. Alright, so we have 10 squared, or 10 squared is 100, as you should know already. Then we put back the plus, the 2, the minus 10, the divide by 2, and the multiply by 6. Then what we're looking for is, let's see, after BODMAS we go division, 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 or multiplication, multiplication. Oh wait, this is M and this is D. Right, so either division, multiplication, whichever one comes first, reading from left to right. So I am seeing the first thing here, which is a division, that is 10 dividing 2. So we say, okay, 100 plus 2 minus 10 divided 2 is 5, multiply by 6. Then the next one that we have to look at is the multiplication that we see here. So we say, okay, 100 plus 2 minus 5 by 6 is 30. Oopsie, let me erase this. Alright, I'll write that over. 100 plus 2 minus 30. And then the final part, we are supposed to do additions, subtractions in order from left to right. So we go in from left to right, here, here, and here. And we see addition first, 102 minus 30. And now we see in a subtraction, and that is 102 minus 30, and that should be 72. So that is how you work with the order of operations. And you would have to remember how to do this, because when you start doing questions later on, you would see that what they do is they sometimes write things like this. They put fractions, like a half plus 3/4, and then they say all over 5/6. Now notice that is a little bit troublesome, but if you recognize that you have to work out the top first here, and then you would go ahead and work with this, you would be able to solve it. So when you solve the top piece here and you get your answer, then this here, this symbol is a division, and it says this number answer here divided by this number answer here. So if you want, we could do a quick thing on this. I will erase a few to let you see it. Let me see, eraser. And I erase the first piece here, this line here, so that you can see what I'm talking about. If it is that you are doing these things on a calculator, it will be best that you know how to represent it on a calculator. And I will do a little bit of a video for that later on. Let's say, for instance, we're doing this, a half plus 3/4. And now I'm going to write this symbol that you have here as what it is, divide by 5/6. Now this piece here is in brackets. Alright, so what we have to do is we have to solve this piece here first. This and this is the exact same thing. Alright, we just simply have to solve the piece that is on top first. Alright, so let's solve the piece that is on top. I am going to say a half is equivalent to 2/4 plus 3/4 is equal to 5/4. And I'm going to say that answer divide by 5 on 6 will simply be equal to 5 on 4 multiplied by 6 on 5. 5 cancels with 5. 2 into 4 is 2. 2 into 3 is 3. And we get 3 on 2, which is 1/2. 1/2. And that's how you work these things out. You use either BODMAS, BIDMAS, or PEMDAS. They are all the same thing. You do your brackets or parentheses first, your powers after, your divisions or multiplications, your additions or subtractions. And when you're doing divisions, multiplications, or addition, subtractions, it comes in the order of left to right, whichever one you read first.